Hello, everyone, and welcome to Six Figure Souls Doing Good and Making Money. This is a very special season 7, highlighting my co authors of our new collaborative book project coming out in July of this year, The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Successful Soul Professional. I am your host, Camille Miller. I'm also lead author for the book and pioneer for the soul professional movement. Today, we are interviewing my co-author, Heidi Metro. She is founder and CEO of When You Lead Coaching and Consulting. Thank you, Heidi, for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. I already have goosebumps, so I'm excited to see what happens.
Yay! Yay! So I always like to start out with you giving a more in-depth who you are, your journey to where you are now. I will dive in and ask lots of questions
Yep.
because I know from interviewing hundreds of people that it always looks like people are just successful and they're lucky in life, right? It does. From the outside, it just looks like, boom, they got it. I don't have it. And I think it's really important to highlight the journey. And I will ask you some questions. But can you give us a little bit of background?
Yes. Well,
How you
I
became who
love
you
that
are
you're highlighting the journey. I think the journey is, I mean, that's where we're going to spend the majority of our life is
in the
in
journey.
the journey.
That's smart. Yeah,
In fact, that's most of it, right? We are born and then we journey and then we journey beyond. And so
absolutely.
I was born in the Midwest, small town kid, farm community. As my husband says, I was born, in the middle of a cornfield. That is his interpretation. Like, well, I'm the most enlightened, kid from the Midwest you've met. But um I grew up in a really tight-knit family. My parents still really love each other, right? I had what you would consider to be a pretty easy life. I have, siblings that we get along. We love each other. And I think that's a
Beautiful.
privilege that I
Yeah.
have. But it really did set the stage. I was one of those kids that was always on my bike. I didn't have a curfew, right? Everybody knew who you were. If you get pulled over by the cop in town, he already knew you. It was like
Where you
that
lived.
type of
Yep.
upbringing.
Yep.
But I grew up always wondering, like, was I being told the whole truth? You know how you walk into a room and you can like sense that there's stuff going on that no one is talking about? I think
Yeah.
I always had that as a kid.
Okay.
And so I grew up asking a ton of questions, like at inopportune times. And I wanted to know everything about everything and learned very quickly that some of my questions were problematic. uh, I didn't mean to be
Right.
a problem child, but I was very curious about
Curious.
why the world looked and operated the way that it did.
Okay.
And so I was a very philosophical kid, very big thinker, very big dreamer. And that isn't always welcome in the quote unquote real world. So teen years, I ended up really like introspective and experiencing a lot of depression and anxiety feelings and trying to figure out like, how can I be this buoyant, really curious person in a world that says don't? And so it from the outside and on paper, I looked, like I had it all together. You shouldn't have a reason to be feeling the way that you're feeling. And it was a harder time, high school, middle school, and went to college and found philosophy. And so I have a bachelor's degree, or as my dad likes to say, a BS in philosophy, which is true, but it's true. But it was a place for my questions, and not only my questions, but my questions. And so I was able to go, oh, I'm freer to be who I am. And I really genuinely believe that everybody is here for a specific person or purpose. Like I think that
Yeah,
there's something baked inside of you that is begging for you to cultivate and let it bloom.
I
And
agree.
I also understand people have to pay their bills. And so I was told all the time, like, it's fine if you want to ask all these questions, but what are you going to do in the real world? And that just never sat well. It just
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't want to choose. I want both. So after college, I did the sales thing. I was super good at it. Every job I left, I was always like number one in the nation for whatever I was doing, but I was so unhappy. And I have learned that my depression feelings and my anxious feelings are recalibrators, they're course correctors. And knowing that they're course correctors has led me to where I am now. And so I ended up going back to school for massage therapy and working with really intelligent, high achieving men and women who said all the right things and then their bodies told the truth. And so I was learning again about that dissonance. And I ended up doing that for 13 years, which was wonderful. But I wanted more. I wanted more for them. I wanted to learn more tools and skills. So I went back to school again for coaching and business. And now I've got this coaching and consulting business that is, it's the hardest, best, most amazing, wonderful place where I get to ask all my questions and still be that kid in my room who wants to help people do the thing that they're here to do.
Yeah.
You know, I still want world peace. I know that sounds so trite and so dumb, but that's like, what if we could do it? And maybe not in my lifetime, but I'm sure as heck not going to be the one that drops the ball. Like, I'm going to keep going with this idea.
I love that. I think I still strive for the same thing, but I think it's possible in my lifetime, but I will be so old that I'm not the trigger that's making that happen.
I get it.
I do believe that my generation bred the children that are going to change it.
Ooh, I got goosebumps.
I'm a Gen X.
Okay, I'm in that weird one.
Yeah, I just heard it. Yeah,
I don't know what it's called, but you know what it is.
I was like, oh, I didn't know there was a weird one in there, but there is.
I'm the weird one.
Yeah, and I can see that my kids are going to change the world. Like they see things so differently. I believe that they're different souls. They are different.
They like came in inclusive. They came in chill. They came into
a global world, right?
Truly. Well said. And they didn't come into the cornfield.
Yeah, but they explained it to me that way, and I didn't really see it. And it really wasn't until COVID that I saw their side on everything, because they'd watch videos or, Mom, this is what we're seeing. This isn't what the news is saying. This is what we're seeing. And then I could ask questions. Well, what does this mean to you? What does this like? And it was really a time for us both to just talk about what we knew. And what I learned was they had such a global understanding that I didn't even realize. They said, when things happen in the world, we just get in chat groups and talk about it from people that are already there.
Wow. Right.
And it's so different. And it wasn't until 2020 that I really got to do the same. Like now I talk to people all over the world. Our community, I represent, I think we have 12 countries in our community of global entrepreneurship, because that's all we do is global entrepreneurship. But it's really important to have those connections. And now we're seeing people, one, come in a lot younger, right? They're not even going through the stage that they didn't like, right? Yeah. They're not going to corporate jobs. They're just saying, I'm being me, and I'm doing it while traveling and having an online business. So it's a totally different world. And I think it's amazing.
I do too.
I think it's amazing.
It's exciting. And I think the physiology of that matters, right? Where it's because I still have that traditional upbringing. I still have the box check the checklist that I got, like this is the order and this is what you're supposed to do. And there's a part of me that still wants my parents I want them to be proud of me,
Yep. I totally get it. Yeah.
And my kids are like, if you are, that's nice. And if you're not, that's okay fine.
Too.
Yeah. And there's a different, but I do feel like that hybrid physiology. I do feel like the hybrid of like, I can see where I've been, but I can also see where this thing is going, and being able to like nervous system regulate the way I think matters. Yeah.
I think it's exciting. Like I look at it as opportunity. And that's one of the reasons I run what I run, because I do believe that there's a paradigm shift happening. Everyone is changing, and we have to really be, ahead of it. And that's why.
Have you figured out how to be ahead of it? I think I feel like I get stuck in the middle where I'm like, I am not ahead of this. I am getting dragged sometimes.
So it was literally in the past week or two that I almost had a real conscious understanding myself, like sat with myself.
Okay.
And been like, I run an organization of global entrepreneurs, and there is so much happening right now that I need to step into that CEO role. Yep. Way better than I have, because it's coming from all directions and I have to understand. So I have a lot of conversations. I mean, a lot of conversations during the week with so many people. But I chose to dive in deep to understand finance. You know, I called my finance team. I was like, we're going to start ripping this stuff apart. I need to understand more.
Yeah,
and I'm the type of person where I want to hear every point of view. I don't make a decision. Like, it's not for me to choose what's right or what's wrong. I want to hear all of it. And I don't come from a place of fear anymore though either. So it's just going to be what it's going to be. But I have a need to understand it, but I also feel like it's my role as a leader to really understand it. So one of the things we're adding to our community is something called Global Connections, where we're having these high-level conversations all over the world so we can understand how things are working between us. Because I really do believe it's the entrepreneur, the smaller entrepreneurs, that when we come together, we're the collective influence. We're the ones that's changing the world actually. Right. We have to build wealth to do it, hence the podcast, right?
Right.
And we have to do it in alignment so we can have a collective voice. Oh, it's possible.
It's happening. Yeah.
It's happening. Right. And just stay above it is amazing. I hate to say it, but I get a lot of my information of what's happening through TikTok. And
so like convince me to join TikTok, because I'm like, how am I going to do one? I feel like I won't work.
My team was trying to get me to join TikTok for the longest time. I'm like, I am not dancing. And they're like, no, you don't understand. I'm 55. There's not a lot of old people on that are giving business advice and blah, blah, blah. You'll have your own niche. And I fought them for a year. I finally started last year and now it's starting to go. But I learned more about the world watching other people, because it's in real time. And I watch other CEOs, other founders, other people, all my age group, because it will only really find the way the analytics work. It finds what you like. Right. It knows you, the people you watch. And it's so cool. Like it's wild. Like I would not know about, some of the things that are happening in our own politics and the Restrict Act. You know, when I saw Congress, like I didn't even know it was happening. And until I watched it on TikTok and I was like, oh my God, I have to get more information. I spent hours. And actually that was a defining moment for me. Absolutely was a defining moment. I spent a day watching this and went, holy crap. Yeah. I just saw a CEO of a foreign company fight for my First Amendment rights. Yeah. Against the people that swore to uphold them for me. And it was a game changer for me. And it was in that moment that I went, I need to be the leader. Like I need to step into my role because I need to know what's going on. I need to know who's affecting it, how many entrepreneurs we have on it, how are we backing them up, how are we supporting them, how are we giving them the skills they need. Like it was just that was my trigger to be like, oh my God, I don't think I know what's going on in the world. The devaluation of the dollar, the trade, like I learned all of that on TikTok.
So that is a totally different way of looking at it than like my kids who want to be on it, and like where I'm like,
they're not going to get the same, you're not going to see the same stuff.
Well, I mean, that's algorithm in general, but okay. Yeah. You've made a compelling case.
It was, but I will say one thing, and then we'll get back to the podcast part. I will say one thing though. I have ADHD, as most creatives do, and it is very addictive, like very addictive. So like I have to put timers on it. I don't watch night TV anymore. I do that instead. Same. And I still have my alarms go off to be like, you have to go to bed now. You have to shut this down, because I will stay up all night. I hyper focus. It's part of my ADHD. Yeah. And for the most part, I think it's really, really good.
I've got 2 neurodiverse family members. And so we say that we have a neurodiverse and empath friendly household. Like all of our systems are designed around neurodiversity.
Ours is too, but I think it's more normal now than it is. I didn't know I was all of these things until my kids got diagnosed. And it was actually my kids that went, Mom, I need to show you something. I didn't know I was dyslexic till I was 44. Wow. And only because I brought my kid in. My oldest is on the spectrum, autistic. And but she has Asperger's, brilliant. But I didn't know until they went through all the testing, and then they're like, well, it runs through the family, and I was like, oh, I think that's me.
Isn't that wild?
And
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God. And I grew up thinking I was stupid,
sure.
right? But I always
But the systems were
knew
just
I
not
wasn't.
supportive.
Like it was
Yeah.
kind of like I just learned differently. And I always knew I learned differently,
Yep.
right? But my father's dyslexic, who's a doctor. I'm dyslexic. And we went through this whole thing, and I'm like, it was so funny with going home and calling my sister and calling my father and going, I know
This
what
is
we
what that
have.
is.
Like, because we
Yeah.
always said we're alike, but we didn't know what it was. We have a
Wow.
processing disorder, but we didn't know what it was until
And
my
yeah,
so
even that word disorder, it's like, is it, or is it just different? Is it just
my
another
father always
jack
taught
of
me.
cards?
My father's a very, very brilliant man, but he always taught me, and even when my oldest was diagnosed as autistic, he's like, mainstream, don't teach her that she's autistic, don't
Yes.
give her anything. And oh my God, best advice. Now she's very high functioning. So not,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
went through grad school, has a great job now. Like, but it was, I think it was in college. She came to me and she said, Mom, I just want to thank you for
Mm,
not doing that.
yeah.
Like for allowing me to do it in society and
Yeah.
figure it out. Right. And there were some tough times. And I'm like, you know what? There's not always going to be someone on your side. You're going to have really crappy bosses. You've had there's at least once every 2 years, there was a nightmare teacher that made her
Yeah.
life a living hell. Right. But I don't know. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But I think more of us are than aren't. We just didn't know it.
And there wasn't
Neurodivergent. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the resource or the language. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I always tell my kids, I was like, I know it's really hard in school, but it's amazing as an entrepreneur. Right?
As a
As long
parent,
as you
right?
could.
And as a community member and
Yeah.
thinking in a different way.
Just, yep. I always saw things differently, but that also what allows me to do what I'm doing today. I
Correct.
see things differently. I see them before they happen. It's like I can see a pattern happening and just kind of knowing what it was.
Yeah. Oh, I
Right.
love
So I
that.
recognized in 2015 that there was a shift happening in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Right. I didn't know when I was going to catch up to it. Right. We went to a full Zoom no chapter model in 2018.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was like, I know we're going to need to know this. I don't know why. 2020, so
It's crazy.
yeah. Anyway, I want to get back to you and your story, get off that tangent. Tell me about hiring staff. So when you
Mm.
go from body worker to even coaching, right?
Yep.
You're a, say, first year, second year coach, right? And you're
Yep.
still trying to fill all those slots yourselves. I'm sure we've all put out programs that didn't sell and retreats, and it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
So I want to hear, especially for our listeners that may be in that spot, how you went from the beginning to not exactly where you are now, because I know that's pretty far, but even your first hire. Like,
Yeah.
what are some things that made you fall down along the way, or what you realized along the way?
So hiring was always going to be scary for me because I tend to feel like I will just do it on my own. I was that
Mhm.
girl in college where I didn't want to do group work. I knew how I wanted it done. I knew that I would get an A if you just get out of my way.
Right.
I also had really challenging girl relationships like through middle school and high school. There was competition and there was a lot of that going on. So for me, I was never going to have a group program. I was never going to do a group coaching program. I was afraid of it. And one of my coaches was like, you'll have a group and it'll be fine. And now my group is one of my most favorite things that I do because it's set so intentionally and it's set without a codependent foundation, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and so hiring was always made me a little nervous. And I had heard, there's a certain income that you would want to be at before you would hire someone. I also think there's a lot of really bad advice out there of like, you
Yes.
need to have this person and you need to have this person, and then you got to do this, and you're not really successful until you have that. And I did do it all at the beginning, and I wanted to know how to do it all. I didn't want to
Yep.
be so disconnected. But for me, there was a certain threshold where it was like, I really can't do this on my own anymore. And I didn't want to. And so hiring for me was much more about function than about this proving that I was successful. Where
Gotcha.
people say like, oh, once you get to this, then you should have this person and this person and this person. I was like, I can't get to the next income level without the first hire. And so for me, the first hire, I did a lot of contractors at the beginning, a lot
Yep.
of
We
VAs,
all
a lot
do.
of,
Yeah.
the contractor route, but having a person that's dedicated to the operation side of my business, and she's so gifted and she's so talented that it has been such a game changer. And then to be able to bring consultants on who it's kind of that hybrid position.
Hmm.
And right now we're building up that next revenue ramp to be able to bring, this training and leadership development partner on. And it's the numbers get stupid, right? When you start to go like I'm making in a month what I made in a year out of college, right? Like,
Yeah.
but you look at all of where that revenue goes and the
Right.
job that it has. And so for me, it was very personal. It was very much a physiology. And to your point, that CEO role, I have a very good mentor friend of mine, and she's in Bali, right? All over the world, these women are. And
Yeah.
she said, you're going to have to let a lot more flow through you. And so talking with other women entrepreneurs, other women leaders, and even being able to speak physiology, even being
Yeah.
able to speak the emotional component of being a CEO, because that's most of it, I think,
Yeah.
has been really revolutionary. But I love my team. Our team meetings it's some of the best leadership I do. And I'm proud of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, who was your very first hire?
Very first hire was like executive assistant,
Yeah, like a
like
virtual. Yeah.
do all of the things that run the back end. And now she's like straight ops, like just like she like curates the calendar and she's the communications curator, and I trust her explicitly with clients. Like she's a client concierge, she's all of it. And
Okay.
that for me, I needed someone who I trusted to, and she sees it all, right? Like something really vulnerable about
Yeah.
letting someone, as they say in the Midwest, see how the sausage was made. You're like, it's a gross analogy, but it's true. Like you're gonna see all of my, but she'd come in to my business as a consumer as well. So she knows my style. She knows how I teach.
Yep.
So it's been, she was the first.
Beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
in my chapter this time, I wrote about the mistakes I made. One,
Mm.
hiring, right?
Oh, it's so
Was a
expensive.
big
Yeah.
one. Things where I made a mistake or spent too much on the wrong people, and what it
Oh,
ended up was hiring someone from within. Right.
oh,
Someone that
yes.
already experienced who I was, what I was trying to curate.
And that matters. Yes.
Oh my gosh, does it matter? Oh my
Yes.
gosh, does it matter?
I need them to, the people on my team are living the model.
Yep.
We walk what we teach, and it does matter to me to be that congruent. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
Like truly, if you were to come to my home and sit with me and sit with my team, you'd be like, that's Heidi. there's not there's no difference.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
work-life balance it's not a thing. Like I don't believe in work-life balance. You live your passion, you live your purpose, you live congruently, just in different segments of your life. But I don't even strive for work-life balance.
I think that's important. And that has come up in every one of these interviews
Oh, really?
about, yeah, that
Yeah, I don't believe in it. It's too
and
hard.
well, it's not, everyone thinks it's a 50-50 balance. It's not always 50-50. It can't be
No,
50-50. And
no.
depending, like when this year, I'm very focused on one goal, right?
Mm,
And it's really building our community at a very large level. And that's it. And it takes away from a lot of other stuff right now. But I've
right,
made that choice that
right.
I'm going to be a little off kilter this year, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You know what? I've already X'd out the first week in December to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to London in a few weeks
Oh,
and I'm
wonderful.
not bringing my computer, which is big for me. And I'm like telling my staff and everyone now, like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the game. I'm just not doing it. I'm
Those
turning
boundaries are
off.
big.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm
Yep.
off kilter a lot. So, and I
Yeah.
think that's I think that's a part of it, and it's not a bad thing. Not a
No.
bad thing. I know when I need time, and I do have time in the mornings. Like
Mm-hmm.
my
Same.
mornings are a little quieter. I have days that I'm not on camera. Like that's balance for me.
Yes. We talk about it being harmony,
Yeah.
where
I like harmony
it's
better.
balance for me. I think of a scale that's like not tipping and it
Yeah.
stresses my physiology out. Harmony is like, there are times where, if you think about an orchestra, sometimes the strings lead, sometimes, whatever, the different phases
Beautiful.
lead. And
Yeah.
sometimes my family has to lead. And sometimes my relationship with just me is like, you're all going to have to harmonize with me because I'm leading. Sometimes your business has to lead and you are working 100 hours, right? And okay,
That's
that's
okay.
that's the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm totally unemployable now, and I wouldn't do anything else. We all have those moments of like, wouldn't it be nice just to collect a check, right? Like, wouldn't it be nice? But that's usually at the very tail end of a breakdown
Yep. We all have it. I have it too.
when I'm about to break through,
Yeah.
like you get to you have those patterns. But yeah, I'm unemployable. I'd
Yeah.
come in and just be like, you want me to ask for time off? I don't understand. That doesn't work for me after 15 years.
That is funny. Can you share a moment when you feel like you didn't have it all together? I
Yesterday,
know we just said like a moment when we just wanted to quit, but we all have them, and I think it's important.
I, yes. I mean, it goes in stages and it goes in seasons. And for me, I mean, even last week, there's some things that were coming. It's like, I know it's on its way. And I really genuinely know it. Like you can feel it. It's on its way. But there are some of those moments where you're a CEO and you're looking at, for me, it's looking at the budget. And I
Mhm.
love a sexy spreadsheet. I love numbers. I love money. I love what money can do. I love when really purposeful people have a ton of it. And there are times when I'm looking at my numbers and it's like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And that feeling of pressure and that feeling of, I know it's on its way, but it's not here yet. And I got to get a little creative and I need to be able to, move through that. But I don't know that I'm even trying to have it together anymore. I feel like I did that in my 20s and 30s where I wanted to look like I had it together. I don't have that same pressure.
Yeah. Because
I
your
think I know it's
validation's
just this
coming.
messy. I
Yeah.
think I just know that it's this hard. I wish that if someone would have said to me like, no, legit, it just is this hard. Like all of the marketing is going to tell you that it should be fine in 6 weeks and that you should be making $10,000 a month right out, your first year. And like, it should be easy and you should only be, coaching. You shouldn't have to do anything else. If someone just would have said, it is actually this hard. This
Hmm.
will genuinely bring you to your knees. And then listen when you're on your knees. It is this difficult. You are going to feel like it's falling apart a lot. And that means you're doing it right. I wish someone would have said that.
I love that. I think you hear it, but you don't believe it. And I've even gone through things like, is it this hard for everyone? Or is
Yeah,
it
it
just
is.
me?
It is
Right.
that hard for everyone.
Yeah. I think that's good for our listeners to hear that it really is
It
hard.
just really is that
Part
hard.
of, yeah.
And part of it is because it is so complex, especially when you shift from coach into CEO zone.
Yeah.
You are making so many decisions in so many different facets of the business.
Yeah.
And so for me, scheduling my time, that has probably been the biggest hard thing in
Yeah.
the midst of having a partnership and in the midst of being a parent and in the midst of, parents having health issues. And I mean, and it
Yeah.
really, life is just this hard.
Yeah.
It's also this beautiful. It's also this magical, but it's hard.
Are you the only one that coaches in your company? Or do
I've
you have
got one
other
other
coaches?
coach.
Okay.
And I'm so lucky. Her name is Carly. She's so good. She's so good. And what we're developing right now is a program for our consultants to come in. So they're Colby certified consultants, but then we want them to be able to do this lead method coaching. So it's this, I have now I can see the vision. You know how you like, oh, this is what we're doing. It might take me 5 years and I want it to
Right.
take me 4 minutes. Impatience is probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want it all right now.
And let's talk about the Colby certified. We talked about this a little bit before we turned on the mics, and I am
Yeah.
not familiar with it. So can you just explain what it is quickly?
Yes. So I was introduced to the Colby when I went through my coaching program to be a body mind coach. And
Hmm.
I'm an assessment junkie. Like I love to know all of that stuff. Even if I think it's crap, I still think it's fun. It's like it's interesting. But with the Colby, the way it's different is it's who are you when you're striving. And I love this idea of like, it's very practical. To me, it's a hybrid. It's got the woo factor of like, this is who you are, this is like who you are when you're striving, but
Hmm.
it's super practical. I can use it with my team. I can use it with problem solving. And so you end up having a 4-number MO. There are different modes of operation. And for me, it's been, I totally drank the Kool-Aid. And Kathy Colby is the founder of the company. She's 82. When I met her last year, she walked circles around our training program, like in Nike Air Force Ones at 80 freaking 2. I was like, this is the type of entrepreneur I want to be. Like people say, when do you want to retire? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And she's the personification of that, of like creating and contributing and collaboration. And it's like, it's an equitable company as well. It's focused on, we all have talent, we all have gifts.
Mm.
And here's the practical application of that. So every position on my team is focused around the Colby. Every hire that would come in will be around the Colby. The teams that we work with, oh God, it is just soul enhancing. And it's some of the best work that we do. And I've taken a lot of assessments, but this is the one that I use. It's one thing to know something about you. It's another thing to apply it.
I
You
love
should
that.
totally take it.
I'll have
Take it and
to.
I'll do your interpretation. And then you can tell me like, this is crap or I love it. And we'll go from there.
Okay. I'm in. I
Beware
love
of the
taking.
beware of the Kool-Aid, Camille. Beware. It's so good though.
I think
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say who you are when you're striving, not
Yes.
just who are you at rest or who are you
Yes.
like when you're striving. I
No.
think, at least for me, it changes. Like I feel like I'm in a different mental space when
Same.
I'm, trying to reach a big goal. When it's not
And the Colby
just,
will help you to allocate your time.
yeah,
And it
it's so
also,
interesting.
we talked about this before we hit record, but I am a pretty dramatic person. Like I love theatrics. I love I talk with my hands. Like when I watch video back of presenting, I'm like, wow, how did I not take off in flight with as much as I like use my hands and arms? But I don't do distracting drama. Like when I think of drama in the workplace, when I think of drama in corporate, when I think of drama where people genuinely have beef with each other, some of it is just, the word is conative. So conative is again who you are when you're striving. Some of it's just dissonance when it comes to that. We talked about learning styles. This is a leadership style, right? This is a
Right.
striving
Mhm.
style. And I love to teach people theirs. And then how do you work with your team? How do you work with the people that and even my partner Mike, once we found out our Colbys, I was like, oh, you're not just irritating me. Like we genuinely have conative stress in categories. And I'm able to not put all of my big ideas on him because that's conatively stressful for him. So we've learned a lot about
Oh,
our
I get
relationship as
that.
well.
Okay, now I see.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
what's called an initiating quick start. So that means when I'm given a problem, I want a big whiteboard and yummy markers. And I want to like, there's no bad idea. Let's
digging at
go.
it.
All the
Yep.
things. Mike is what's called an initiating fact finder. So if he's given a problem, Google was made for him. He wants to know all of the details about all of it. Why are we talking details? I haven't even gotten to my 10th best idea yet. So I no longer brainstorm with Mike, and he no longer requires me to have a thesis on all of the facts that he has gathered. And it's created much more peace in our relationship. And
Makes
that's just
sense.
our marriage.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
that is beautiful. All
Yeah.
right. I have a couple more questions.
Yeah, please.
It's going to be a little long, but stay with
That's
us.
okay.
Who do you align yourself with? Because I talk about this in a lot of my interviews. It's been very eye-opening for myself as I've grown as a CEO, as a business owner, an entrepreneur. My personal friends have changed, and who I
Same.
surround myself with as a CEO has changed. What have you found with yourself, and who are you surrounding yourself with now?
I want to be in an environment where I don't have to censor,
Okay.
where if I say, I feel really sad, I feel really vulnerable, I feel I'm hurting right now, I need to be able to say that in the spaces that I'm in. And I need to be able to say, like, I'm really mad at you and I need a minute. I need to be able to tell the truth, like, in the moment. And values are a big deal. And I always thought values work was just crap. I thought it was just like the picture on the wall of a whale that says like integrity, right? Like, and actually integrity is truly one of my core values. Wholeness, like the true definition of the word integrity, is the core value of mine. So values-based individuals, strengths-based individuals, people, I don't do superficial well at all. You want to have a soul conversation or are we out? Like,
Yep.
I love to be around people who will tell me the truth of their experience in the moment and not make me responsible for it. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Yeah.
Where I've been in a lot of codependent relationships. I've been in a lot of spaces where I was the fixer. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to be in a space where people don't feel the need to fix me and I don't feel the need to fix them. But like, how do I share my gifts and talents, and how do I receive your gifts and talents to create like this cross section of talent so that we can really heal, right?
Yeah.
My friendships have completely changed. My partnership with Mike is totally different. The people on my team, like, I feel like I can be myself more often than not. And that I have to be that. I don't do superficial very well at all. Yeah.
But I think that's what it means to be soul aligned.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that is living your truth, being authentic, purpose driven, mission driven, however we're talking at it. But
Yep.
for ourselves, it's being in alignment with whatever
And
we're
for
doing.
me, that meant we have to be able to disagree, because I
Mm.
had done that for a while where it was like soul aligned meant that we always got along, where it was there was that misnomer
Yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah.
if everybody's living, we should all be harmonious, man. And it's like, no, I need to be able to say, you hurt my feelings. I need to be called out, like what you said was not okay. And to be safe to do the hard stuff. That is also soul aligned, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're going to switch gears into the book.
Okay.
I have not read anyone's chapters, so I'm doing this ahead of time on purpose.
I love it.
Do you know the name of your chapter?
It's blow the lid off your success, how to leverage your anxiety for clarity in your business.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to
And
read
then
that
LID
one.
is an acronym. I won't tell
Okay.
you what it stands for, but LID is, you'll have to read the chapter to find out the acronym.
Okay.
But I'm a total junkie for acronyms. I love words. I love the etymology of words. And I want people to take like a tangible, like, what did that one chick say in chapter 22? Which I love, it's chapter 22 because my birthday is 11/11. So it's like, I thought that was pretty cool. But I want people to go, even if they don't remember my name, I want them to go, okay, I'm feeling anxious. I have to make a decision. What was that tool that she taught? So it's a
Yep.
three-letter tool.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's
So
exciting.
for those listening, the whole book is telling a story and then giving the strategy for the listener
Yeah.
to help them scale their own business. Was this the first time you were authoring?
I've authored blogs and things like that, but contributing to a book, yes, this was the first one.
First time. And what made you say yes? What was your deciding factor? And also
Yeah.
what was the experience for you?
So when you talk about having a soul aligned like community, the person who connected us is someone that I love, Danielle,
Yep.
and I trust her, and I trust her, and I love her. Thank you, Danielle. Oh, hi, honey. And for her to connect us and then to get on a call with you, and we're vetting each other out, we're feeling it out.
Yep.
I needed to know your stance on equity. I needed to know, like, who are you? We had a really long, great first
Yeah, we
conversation.
did.
I left going, oh wow, that was awesome. But I let it simmer too. And I
Yep.
just kept saying, like, if I'm supposed to do this, show me that I'm supposed to do this, and it was not just a yes, it was a double yes. And the process for me, I mean, it's a quick turnaround, man. It's like, boom, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I need that. Deadlines work well
Yeah.
like that for me. But I'm really proud of this work. I'm really proud of what I wrote. I think it's going to be really helpful. And
Awesome.
I'm excited to read the other chapters. I'm excited to be in a group where everybody's already successful and they're not faking it. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like there wasn't,
Everyone was vetted. Yes.
yes, it wasn't this fake it till you make it. It was like, you've
Yeah.
already struggled, you've already hit six figures, you've already done like,
Yeah.
you, and then to go, wow, I'm in that community. That's pretty baller. Huh. Yeah, it was powerful.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And what was your experience writing your story? Like, how did that feel?
It was really cathartic. I've told this story multiple times. It's been a story that I've told, but to
Okay.
write it, to have someone else read it and edit it, and like, I really felt proud of how I held myself in integrity. And I felt open to feedback, but I also felt like what I produced was really, I told the truth.
Yeah.
And there's something neat about having someone else in charge of the process. As a CEO, you're in charge of so many freaking processes all the freaking time. And so to have someone else in charge and just give me deadlines, I'm not going to lie, it was awesome. I was like,
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah. And kudos to our publisher, Laura DeFranco at Brave
My
Healing,
God, what a
because
gem.
right. And that's exactly why I hire them. They do everything. Absolutely everything.
It was
Yeah.
such a relief as my personality and as a
Yes.
CEO to not be in charge.
And that's what I needed. Like I find the authors and then I'm like, okay, I'm done now.
So
And
smart.
and that's why I haven't read any of your chapters. I do read before we finally go to print though. I do
Of
read
course.
everything before we go to
Yeah.
print because my name's on it. But I just allow it to be. And it's really
Right.
nice because she keeps texting me, oh my God, this is such an incredible book.
Oh,
And I'm like,
good.
that's so helpful for me because I don't know, right? I know I put
Right.
together incredible people, but
Right.
it makes the project that much better.
Yeah,
Um,
she's amazing.
yeah, absolutely amazing, amazing. All right, Heidi, how do people get in touch with you to learn more about your work or anything else?
Yeah, I would love that. So easiest way, do people still do websites, or do I need to go have a TikTok handle now? Like, do I like
It'll all be
where?
in the show notes anyway, but
Serious. So the easy way is just women right now, but I do so whenyoullead.com, you can find me at Heidi Metro on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and probably TikTok. Dang it. But not yet. But yeah, social is the easiest way. And just reach out, email me, Heidi at When You Lead. If you dig what you're hearing, just reach out and be like, I saw the show. I want to know you. And we'll get on a Zoom call. It'll be fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. There's also a Facebook group that will be attached to this podcast called the NLBP Global Collaborative. So you can always hashtag
Oh, cool.
a author and go in there and talk to them or leave a remark. And we might do a panel discussion or something at the end of all this because I think
That'd
it'll
be
be kind
fun.
of fun, right?
Yeah,
To
clue me
field
in.
questions that have come up. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, Heidi, thank you so much for being on the show and telling your story and for all you do in the world.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity to connect with you. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening today and joining us. For more information about the Soul Professional Movement, you can go to soulprofessional.com. This podcast is sponsored by the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global professional organization and business incubator for soul-aligned entrepreneurs. If you live in a higher vibration, have an alternative approach to business, and want to help repair the world, you can join us at our next meet and greet to learn more. Go to soulprofessional.com to find the next date. Bye, everyone.